Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Lynn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club. Hi there, highly sensitive person. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about the secret weapon that you have at your disposal to change your life. Yes, you. This secret weapon can help you become less stressed, less overwhelmed, have less empathy fatigue, less burnout, and instead you get to feel energized, connected, confident, and motivated. As the title of the episode says, your mind is the answer to this question. Your mind is that super secret weapon that you have. It's one that we all have, but for highly sensitive people like us, it can have an even greater ability to help us in our lives. Highly sensitive minds are powerful processors. We take in a lot of information and subtleties that others miss. When our highly sensitive minds are working against us, we often struggle more than the average person. But when our highly sensitive minds are working for us, we also often tend to do a little bit better than other people do. When we tap into our high sensitivity and use it as a gift, we have a huge advantage in making changes in our lives. If you can use that powerful mind to your advantage, amazing things start to happen. You know exactly what your goals and dreams are and how to reach them. Your relationships improve because you have more bandwidth to be present and calm and focused. You're not constantly distracted by all the other things you should be doing. You also make and save more money, and you spend your money in way more intentional ways. No more zoning out. It's more like going on amazing travel experiences or taking classes or going to lessons for yoga or dance. You generally feel better because you're not running on an empty tank and living in a chronic state of stress. You stop taking responsibility for other people's stuff and you fully own your own life. You get so much more energy, more time, and more of what you want when you use your highly sensitive mind to your advantage. While there were many parts of 2023 that felt challenging and uncomfortable for me last year, maybe it was the same for you, I realized as I was looking back at the year that I have actually improved every single area of my life using my mind. I dropped 30 pounds, and along with those bad eating habits that got me the extra 30 pounds, I also dropped the brain fog, the fluctuating energy, and the hanger that came along with my old style of eating. I actually increased my income by 25% over the course of the year. And that was mostly just because I decided I was going to find a way to make it happen, and I used my brain to make it so. I planned and followed through on incredible experiences with my loved ones, including some special meals out together, spending lots of time out at really cool tea shops, taking road trips and listening to our favorite podcasts, and lots of time to cuddle up on the couch with a good TV show. Supernatural and Suits were my big ones last year, and we did a lot of binging. All of that happened because of how I managed my mind. Here's what happens when you don't manage your mind and you live on cruise control. You feel constantly stressed, overwhelmed, stuck, and tired. You tell yourself that, oh, I'll work on my health tomorrow, or I'll handle my relationships later, or when I have more money, then I'll be able to do the things that I want. You get pulled in a million different directions and you feel like you haven't made any real progress at the end of the day. I have definitely been there, and I have also figured out how to leave that constant stress and fatigue in the rearview mirror, which is what I want to help you with today. I practice the techniques that I'm sharing with you every single time I start to slip back into old patterns, and I get faster and better at redirecting myself every time. You can too. There is never going to be a time in your life when you don't have to keep managing your mind and suddenly everything's perfect and you've transcended to a new plane of being. It's never going to happen. But as you start to manage your high sensitivity, as you get more in touch with your thoughts and your mind and you learn how to manage it better, Then you can start taking things to the next level and you recover so much faster. You catch yourself before you get into bad habits. And even when the backslide starts, it doesn't derail you permanently or for any amount of time. Here's how this works. The first idea you need to know is we can't control what goes on in the world around us or the people around us, but we can control our perception of those situations. Whether you embrace and work with your sensitivity or struggle against it and deny it's even a thing, both of those results can come from your mind. You can choose which one you create for yourself. This might be kind of a weird concept because, on the one hand, it might make you feel super powerful because you can change and become anything that you would like. It is possible for you. On the other hand, it might feel a little bit new to take responsibility for the things in your life that are not going the way that you want them to. That's a good sign. You're stretching your brain. Our mind, particularly our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain at the front right around your forehead, that's what's responsible for your executive functioning, which in less fancy words is the part of your brain that helps you make decisions and it helps you follow through and think about things further into the future. It's the part of you that can watch your thoughts and observe them, which if you have been through a yoga class or a meditation class, you're familiar with. This is the part of you that can observe your thoughts. It's very meta. You can think about your thoughts. It's the part of you that can plan ahead and can change your life. Our primitive brain, on the other hand, is in the amygdala, which is at the back of your head, right where your neck meets your skull. This part of our brain is extremely powerful and it's a lot older than our prefrontal cortex. This is left over from when we were still hunting and gathering. It wants to survive, and that means that it wants you to stay safe and comfortable and never go outside. That part of your brain is important because we want to survive. We need to survive. But we may not have lions and tigers anymore. We don't necessarily have to hunt for our food for the most part. But we do have things that we need to survive and things that trigger our fear responses. Stuff like wanting to belong, not wanting to feel embarrassed or like you missed something out with your relationships. We want to feel like we're part of a community and we're not being ostracized because that still hits the primitive part of our brain that is afraid of being kicked out of the tribe. Both parts of the brain are very important and all the other cool stuff in between, but the two that we're talking about today are really important because when you let them work together, that's when the magic happens. When you let your primitive part of your brain call all the shots, you're missing out on the opportunity to use your greatest asset as a highly sensitive person, your mind. If you think about a computer, one of the main components is the RAM, which stands for Random Access Memory. This is the part of your computer that allows you to keep a bunch of tabs and apps open. It's the thing that runs your word processor, your music apps, and lets you watch your YouTube videos. It's the thing that allows you to do all the stuff. Highly sensitive people have a bit more RAM than the average person because we are able to take in more info. This doesn't mean we're better at multitasking. And in fact, I think HSPs are actually worse at multitasking because it takes so much more energy for us to switch between tasks. It does, however, mean that we can run more programs and not slow down as fast. You can use this excess processing power to your advantage to do what's really important to you, or you can use it to your disadvantage by letting it run on autopilot. It's like when a bunch of programs run in the background and slow down your computer. You don't necessarily see what's happening, but you can see the effects when your computer starts running a lot more slowly. It might look like, oh, everything's fine. You have a lot of accomplishments under your belt, maybe. You probably have stable work that you maybe even like or love. You make enough money to cover your expenses and maybe do a few other things like take classes and order Grubhub when you're just not feeling like cooking. Your friends and family, whether those are related or found family, are pretty supportive and you connect often overall. You have everything you're supposed to want, but something still feels off to you. No one ever taught you how to turn cruise control off. But the downside is that in order to check all of the boxes for the life you're supposed to live, you have probably learned to constantly overextend yourself to the point that you feel exhausted and you're just done at the end of the day. Maybe you even feel like you need a break from your life so you can just sleep for a week. You care about your loved ones, so you want to comfort them through the stuff going on in their lives, but this might leave you feeling overloaded, annoyed, or even resentful. You always put yourself last, so your meditation, your hobbies, and your downtime feels like something you have to earn after you take care of everybody else's feelings and your super detailed to-do list that never seems to quite get smaller. It always seems to get faster than you can mark stuff off. It always seems to grow faster than you can mark stuff off. You work first, play later. Except you feel like there's always more work you should be doing, so it never feels like you can fully relax into the rest you deserve and need. You never get to play because you've created that thought for yourself. And when you do, you feel guilty for stealing the time to do it. Any of this sounding familiar to you? If you want to grow and improve, which I imagine you do if you're listening to this podcast, then your job is to help your primitive brain and your evolved brain work together to get what you want. We want them to be friends and play nicely, like PB&J or ketchup and mustard. You get all kinds of things done and you work your buns off, but it might come at your own expense. If it comes at the cost of your time, your energy, and your health, you are not using your brain the way that you can to effectively improve your life. The answer is your mind. If your brain can learn these old unhelpful habits, it can learn new habits that serve you better. Think of this like someone who goes to the gym regularly. This may be you, or it may not. I am not someone who goes to the gym, but I love to get outside and get movement in. However, I think we all probably know someone who regularly has a cardio day or a strength day. You exercise your brain the same way. If you're used to constantly using up all of your energy, you exercise using up all my energy and feeling exhausted day. If you soak up other people's emotions and have trouble letting them go, you're practicing getting caught up in other people's drama day. You've taught your brain to do these habits by regularly practicing them. On the other hand, you can have a totally different training day. You might instead have balance my obligations to others while taking care of myself day. Maybe you start trying loving other people without feeling their emotions for them day. Same effort in your brain, but a much more productive use of your energy that you consciously choose. Here's our next big idea. Every result that you have in your life comes from your thoughts. The things you can't control in your life are just situations, and your thoughts about the situation cause your feelings, which then create your actions or inactions, which then create the results that you have in your life. This is not a new concept. I learned this idea in coach training. Shout out to Thriving Coach Academy, where I got certified. Other coach training programs teach the same method, and in therapy, this is how cognitive behavioral therapy works. If you want something to change in your life, you choose new thoughts consciously. Then you practice those new thoughts, just like learning a new language or trying a different app for the first time. Anytime iOS updates, I always feel like I have to relearn something. As you continue to practice that new thought, you let go of old thoughts that don't help you anymore. Your conscious mind in the prefrontal cortex keeps practicing the new thoughts until your primitive brain gets the message and can take over and turn those new thoughts into your habits. That's how your conscious mind and your primitive mind can be a powerhouse together. Every habit that you have developed started with you thinking and deciding something, which created a feeling, probably a good feeling, or avoiding a bad feeling, and then you took action, or avoided and procrastinated, which is inaction, because of those emotions. Some things we learn through experience, like if we give an answer in school and people laugh at us, then we think that was so embarrassing, I'm never going to raise my hand and say something like that again. You may not have realized in the heat of the moment, but you had a thought. The thought was, I'm never going to raise my hand and say something like that again. You made a choice, even if you didn't know to slow your brain down to see what was really happening. You can always go back and practice this. Go back to a moment when you had a strong response to something and try and slow down and figure out what the thoughts were that you were thinking at the time. You made a choice, and then it became a habit after that. The stronger the emotional response, the easier it is for your brain to turn it into a habit because it wants to avoid that kind of pain again, and it wants to seek the kind of pleasure that you get from the good stuff. You can choose your new thoughts and repeat those new thoughts to yourself regularly until they become the new habit and replace the old ones. Here's my personal health example because that's one that most people can relate to. I lost 30 pounds last year by making conscious decisions and building new habits with my brain. I didn't exercise more, and I didn't go on a diet. It was my mind designing a new lifestyle and then sticking to it even when things were hard and I didn't want to. I have a huge sweet tooth. And before I started managing my mind, I thought things like, oh my God, I need a brownie right now. We are so having tacos for dinner. I don't care. I'm so tired. I have got to eat something. I don't want to deprive myself. This is my favorite. I'm an adult, so I get to eat what I want when I want. This is my favorite. I'm an adult, so I get to eat what I want when I want. I feel free when I eat sugar. I've worked a long day. I deserve to treat myself. I just don't have the energy to make something healthy. I'll figure that out tomorrow. Any of these thoughts sound familiar to you? I was basically going to the mental gym every day and making it, I deserve treats day, or I'm too tired to make better choices day. When I had those thoughts rolling around my mind all day long, it made me feel anxious, defeated, overwhelmed, rebellious, argumentative with myself, which is just such an energy drain, indulgent, and even panicked sometimes because I thought eating something was the only way I would feel better. I used to have a huge problem with hanger, which is when you're so hungry that you get angry. As it turns out, you can be hungry and not get cranky with yourself or with other people. That was just a conditioned response. When I was feeling defeated or anxious or rebellious or any of these other uncomfortable feelings, I would often get takeout. We have a number of taco places in the area, and it was so easy to just hop in the car and go get something. I like to stock a lot of sugary treats around the house, and I would constantly justify it with, I don't care. This is what I want, and this is what we're getting. I'll fix it tomorrow. I indulged any craving I had and immediately went out to get it. This was such a waste of time because I would let my cravings completely derail my day. I would stop what I was doing because I would let the cravings distract me so much that I thought I couldn't continue or get my work done or be creative until I'd indulged the craving. And I spent a ton of money on impulse buys and stuff that made me feel awful later, both physically and mentally. It felt great in the moment to say, ugh, I don't feel it this morning. I'm going to go to Starbucks and get my favorite drink. And then I would come home. I spent 30 minutes going to Starbucks and waiting in line. I spent the $6 to get my latte. I come home and the feeling doesn't last. And then I feel bad later because I could have been doing something that I really wanted to do with my time. When I started taking myself seriously, I coached myself and I got great coaching from others. That's when I started to try on new thoughts. My new thoughts were things like, I don't have to give in to cravings. It's more of a treat to myself not to have brain fog, not to get hangry, and not to feel bloated than it is a treat to have foods that feel good in the moment, but make me feel terrible later. Another thought was change takes time and patience and effort. That's okay. If I eat impulsively, it's not the end of the world, but I will get back on the bandwagon. Freedom is choosing to make better choices for myself overall instead of indulging in the moment. I deserve to treat myself well, and that means I can have treats when I plan them. See the difference between these thoughts? These new thoughts made me feel calm, committed, confident in myself, connected to my body in a new way. I felt patient. I felt in control. And I continue to feel that way because these are still thoughts I use all the time. I build trust and resilience in myself every time I choose to follow my new thoughts instead of indulging in the old thoughts. With my new thoughts, I am much more inclined to take the time to plan ahead in a way that I have never done before. And instead of a meal plan, because meal planning never really worked for me, what I do is a meal formula. This means that once a week, I go to the grocery store, I pick up a bunch of veggies that sound good to me, a few options for protein, and some healthy fats like avocados or walnuts or almonds, which are my favorites, and anything else that I can add to round out my meals. When I'm ready to eat, I just go to the fridge and I pull the veggies and the protein that seem good. And it takes me 2 seconds to decide because I've already prepped all of those things and chopped them up and gotten them ready to go earlier in the week. Then all I have to do is throw it in a skillet with some salt and pepper and some olive oil, and zip bam boom, it's done. Super, super simple, always healthy. And I save a ton of money not going out to get snacks and meals, not to mention the time that I was wasting. It's actually easier and cheaper to go to my fridge and make something healthy because of my new meal formula. I don't let myself indulge or negotiate things that aren't planned, but the trade-off is that I always plan ahead to have a treat every week. Some weeks that means eating an entire small pizza if I want to, which I have definitely done. Sometimes it's having a treat like my favorite chai latte with coconut milk from Starbucks. It could even be going to one of my favorite sweets places and having a special dessert. We have Graders here in Columbus, Ohio, and seasonally they have cinnamon ice cream, which is one of my all-time favorite flavors. That was definitely something I made a special treat for over the holidays, but I didn't go overboard and I didn't pack on a ton of extra weight. I was able to maintain and still have the things that I wanted by managing my mind. I always know what the plan is. So anytime I feel like I'm starting to deprive myself and my thoughts are starting to come up with some panicky reasons and justifications for why I should go back to doing it the old way, I can just remind myself, I've already planned for that. I already have a treat waiting for me to savor in the near future. Like I know when it's happening. I already know that I get to enjoy something later, which gives me two benefits. Number one, I don't have as many urges because when I'm not indulging them and giving into them all the time, they stop happening as frequently. I'm not adding fuel to the fire by allowing the cravings and then rewarding them by giving into them. The second benefit is I do get to enjoy the treats, but I get them without the guilt and the regret that I felt when I was just giving into urges and indulging a craving. I get to completely enjoy it knowing that I planned it. It was a conscious decision that I chose. It wasn't something that I fell into in a weak moment when I felt tired or uncomfortable and that I feel guilty about later. I get the benefit of knowing that I didn't justify something or make an excuse for something I knew I didn't want to do. Can you see the difference now between how old habits can be formed by your primitive brain without a lot of thought and intention, but you can also create new helpful habits using the same thing, using your prefrontal cortex to create conscious decisions and then doing them often enough that your primitive brain and the amygdala takes over and turns them into a habit. You can create intentional thoughts now that serve you every single day into the future and become your new habit. Here's what I want to leave you with today. A lot of things we think about the situation outside of us, we think that that dictates our thoughts and it dictates our actions. We think that we, as the great Brooke Castillo says, are at the effect of our lives instead of the cause of it. This means we think we're at the whim of external circumstances and fate controls us, the world controls us, and we don't have any say in it. That's not true. You can choose your thoughts and you can choose how you perceive a situation. This doesn't mean toxic positivity, which is a topic for another episode, but it does mean that you can start to think more neutral and maybe even more positive thoughts over time that help you get where you want to go instead of staying on cruise control. Would you rather phone in your life and look back knowing that you could have used your high sensitivity to your advantage? Or would you rather start making a conscious effort now to choose which thoughts would actually help you get what you want in your life? Which thoughts would actually make you feel better? You can start building new habits that will get you exactly what you want in your life right now. I love this beautiful proverb, adage. I'm not sure what it is, but it's the idea that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. It's never too late to turn around and create more intentions for yourself because you'll still be able to get those benefits in the future. If you're ready to take the insights and inspiration that you learned today to the next level and learn how to apply it to your high sensitivity, I have one-on-one coaching spots available. Go to stephanielynn.com and book a consultation call. The spelling and the link will be in the show notes. It's totally free, and in that conversation, we will determine exactly how you in particular can go from wherever you're feeling stuck or tired or disconnected and stuck on cruise control to where you want to be, which I imagine is a lot more energized, connected, and living your life by your choice instead of by your default habits. I would love to teach you how to use your mind to start embracing your sensitivity and use it as a superpower so that you can create results that you didn't even know were possible for you. The link will be in the show notes to find out more. Make sure you check that. I also have workshops and classes coming up in the next month called All About High Sensitivity and Thriving with High Sensitivity. Check the workshops and classes page of stephanielynn.com to sign up and get all the details. This could be a great next step for you to take the concepts that you're learning from this podcast or from watching this video and apply them to your life. That's what I've got for you today. You have control over your thoughts, and I can't wait to see what new ideas and insights and aha moments this opens up for you. See you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to StephanieLynn, that's LINN.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.